Hi, I'm Dr. Annadale. In this video, I'd like to talk about the overall movement of Meditation 1 by Descartes. I'd like to take a look at the overall progression of his argument by looking through the meditation paragraph by paragraph. To begin with, let's take a look at what Descartes says about Meditation 1 in his synopsis of the meditations. This is on page 54 in this edition. Descartes says, in describing what he's going to do in the meditations, he writes, in the first meditation, the reasons are given why we can doubt all things, especially material things, so long, that is, of course, as we have no other foundations for the sciences than the ones we have had up until now. So, pause. My first comment, what is he telling us? The first thing he's going to be talking about in Meditation 1 is the fact that all things, and especially material things, are going to be doubtful unless the sciences can be placed upon a more secure foundation. That's going to be the major theme of the meditations. He continues, although the utility of so extensive a doubt is not readily apparent, nevertheless, its greatest utility lies in freeing us of all prejudices, in preparing the easiest way for us to withdraw the mind from the senses, and finally, in making it impossible for us to doubt any further those things that we later discover to be true. So he's giving us here three benefits of this doubt that he's going to be walking us through in Meditation 1, namely that it makes us open-minded, frees us from hasty judgment about our senses, it allows us to withdraw the mind from the senses more effectively, and it makes it impossible to doubt the things that we learn later on. It gives us absolute certainty about the things that we will learn on a more secure foundation. With that finished, let's turn now to Meditation 1 and take a look at the text. Meditation 1 is 12 paragraphs long in this edition, over about 4 pages of text. I'm just going to walk through the 12 paragraphs in order and say a bit about what Descartes is doing in each one, with an idea of giving you a sense of the overall flow or progression of Meditation 1. In the first paragraph, Descartes notes again the false opinions that he has had since his youth, and his determination to simply raze to the ground, to utterly demolish the entire system of his beliefs in order to rebuild again on new foundations. So we have this idea of refounding his beliefs after clearing the space away of his mixture of true and false beliefs. In paragraph 2, Descartes announces a new rule. He says, I'm going to set aside not just my false beliefs, but also my doubtful beliefs. Why? Because a belief that is doubtful is open to challenge and cannot serve as the kind of new foundation that he's seeking. The third paragraph is very short, and in it Descartes deals with sense knowing. He says sense knowledge should be set aside. It's not our new foundation we're seeking because it's deceptive, and we shouldn't trust something, a thing or a person that has deceived us once previously. In paragraph 4, Descartes addresses a possible objection. He notes that someone might say that perhaps my senses are reliable as a whole, even though I might be deceived in some individual aspect, deceived about this or that particular sensory conclusion. Perhaps it's the case that my senses as a whole are reliable. In paragraph 5, he addresses this objection by noting his dreams argument. He says, I have dreams, and in my dreams I have vivid experiences, and now that I reflect on them, I realize that I cannot tell for certain from within a dream experience that it is not a dream experience and not a real experience. There's no sure sign, he says, that allows me to tell from within the dream that the dream is in fact not real. In paragraph 6, Descartes then moves forward with his argument. He says, so I'm going to assume that I don't have my senses, that I don't have a body, because these are things that I could be dreaming. But he does note that if that's the case, then I seem to be imagining things, and my imaginations seem to be combining many simpler components. So we might ask, components of what? If I'm combining things in my deceived experience, then what are these things, what are these simpler components of which my experience is made? In the short paragraph, paragraph 7, Descartes says these simple components seem to include things like extension, shape, and number. And these should ring a bell because these are some of the primary qualities that Galileo is writing about. In paragraph 8, Descartes says, so, it looks like I'm going to have to set aside complex sciences like physics, sciences that deal with complex things. Why? Because these complex things themselves could be deceptive as being deceptive combinations of these simpler components. It looks like maybe these simpler sciences might remain, sciences like arithmetic and geometry. For as Descartes says, whether I'm asleep or awake, 2 and 2 make 4. Whether I'm asleep or awake, a triangle has only 3 sides. So maybe the abstract sciences, which don't deal with complex bodies, maybe those I can still believe in, but all of the complex sciences, things like physics and chemistry and biology, I have to set aside. In paragraphs 9 through 12, Descartes then turns to the question of God. And he reasons in this way. He says, I do have an idea of God. My idea of God is of a supremely powerful being. Now, if there is a supremely powerful being out there, he might bring it to be the case that reality is very, very different from what I think reality is. God could have made the world very other than what I think it is. But, he says, I do also know that God is good. I've been taught since I was a child that God is a good and benevolent God and wants only the best for me. So, he's going to be reasoning from this point of view. In paragraphs 10 and 11, Descartes really sets up the thought experiment in paragraph 12. He notes that people who would wish to deny a God like this are really just making it more likely that I will be deceived, because the less perfect my Creator is, the more imperfect I will be. And then he goes on the process of setting up a thought experiment, which he conducts in paragraph 12, the last paragraph of Meditation 1. He says, I'm going to suppose now, going to the opposite extreme, that there is a supremely powerful but also evil God who dedicates all of his attention and all of his great power to deceiving me. Suppose that were the case. Well, in that case, if an evil God wishes me to be deceived, then I will be deceived. There's no possibility of my escaping from that kind of awesome power. So he concludes at the end of Meditation 1, at the top of the final page, that I can do nothing at this point than withhold my assent from anything that is or might be false. That's the only thing I can do in terms of governing my mind. I can't use any sort of test to determine whether something is true, because any test I use could be manipulated or made deceptive by this evil demon that I'm hypothesizing in the place of God. That's the place where Meditation 1 ends, and even that conclusion has a sort of hint of what's to come, because what is the power that remains to me even when I'm in the presence of the evil demon? It's the power of withholding my assent from any possible claim that's presented to me. So Meditation 2 will pick up from this point and then bring us down to the question of the I think, therefore I am, which is where we're going next. That's all for right now. Thanks for watching today. Goodbye.